Hello everyone, welcome back. James the Koi Whisperer, and today coming up in this video I've got a little bit of information for you, because what I heard is well worth me talking about, and hopefully, I don't know if anyone else can help me, but it's a bit of information that I want to talk about to start with. Well, to start with, I know this bit of information is not going to be information that everyone wants to hear, but I want to share it because what I've said over the years might not be true, and I think it's worth listening to work out if it is true or if it isn't true, and if anyone else actually knows with facts or paperwork or whatever that may be, because I'm super interested in this. So over the years, as a lot of you koi hobbyists know, we all deal with parasites, problems that we get with fish that live on the fish, and it can create endless things, even leading to fish death, down to parasite problems. Well, there's one parasite I want to talk about, which is Fluke. And I was watching a video the other day, and I've always been a believer because I got told 10, 12 years ago that flukes can be transported to your pond through things like slugs, through things like birds, and apparently that's not true. And I was a bit mind blown about a video that I saw, because the person that actually said it has been in the hobby for a hell of a long time, and he's got so much more knowledge than what I could probably ever have. And I just think things like this should be shared, and I'm hoping I'm going to try to send him an email to find out a little bit more information about it, because for what he was saying, I was always told that things like slugs can get into your pond, and that can create a problem with the slugs carrying a fluke, which can be transported to the fish, and then it can cause yourself a problem. Well, apparently that's not true. Apparently the flukes on a slug and the flukes on a bird poo and feces and stuff like that is a complete different parasite to what a fish fluke is. And I was a bit mind blown, because over the years, and I've said it myself on the channel, that slugs can carry parasites and they can create a problem, and that's not true apparently. So I would like to know a little bit more facts and figures on that, because I was also speaking to my stepdad, who's a farmer, and I know with the farming industry that sheep, because they have sheep on the farm, that they carry flukes as well, and that's a complete different fluke. He's already told me, my stepdad's told me, that's a complete different fluke than what your fluke will be on your fish. I'm not saying I don't believe it, but I want to know more information about it, because I think it would be very useful to share with a lot of people, because as believers of, we say we get problems with things like bird poos in the pond, it triggers a parasite problem, or slugs get into the pond, that's triggered me a parasite problem, when in fact we use all of these treatments to try to eradicate flukes. Not just flukes, there is other parasites, but I'm just specifically talking about flukes and gill flukes, skim flukes. We use all these treatments, and apparently the stuff that we use is never strong enough to eradicate every single thing from the pond, and a lot of the fish will still carry flukes. Like, you could scrape those fish now, and if I was really looking for fluke or skim fluke, that I would probably find it. The only reason why we use the treatments that we use is to knock those parasites back so the fish are happy and healthy, which makes sense to me. That does make sense to me, and it also makes sense to me the reasons why we can knock them back, we're right for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we get a parasite outbreak again, because you can get 1 or 2 fish in the pond that are soaky, unhappy, stressed out about something, and then the whole situation starts back up again. So I just think it's information that's well worth us all knowing. And the way of the times these days with the social media side of things, I think it's great, because every single day in this hobby we're all learning, and every day you're learning, whether if you've been in the hobby for 20 years or 30 years or even just getting into the hobby. Because I know the only reason why I'm saying this is because I have told people on my channel, I put my hands up if I was wrong about this, that I always got told that skim flukes and gill flukes were transported to a pond by things like slugs and bird poo and stuff, and apparently that's not true. It's a complete different fluke. So where does the fluke come from to start with? Like, and do you ever get rid of a fluke completely in your pond, or is it always one sick fish that carries a problem in your pond, which will always continue to trigger that problem off? And to be fair with you, it makes sense, because we all get problems with parasites or something like that along the line. But what causes parasites to start with? Is it generally down to the fish are unhappy, so they're stressed out about something, which is a bit like us really. Like if we get ill and get a flu or a virus in a household, we don't all get ill, but like you might have your son that gets ill but no one else gets ill. And it's exactly the same in a koi pond. You could have one or two sick fish, which the parasite's already in the pond, so that parasite attacks the weakest fish in the pond, which makes an outbreak of parasites, which then all of the other fish get sick because of the parasites had an outbreak. So is there always a sick fish in your pond? Or is it because, as a lot of us as koi keepers, we all overstock our ponds, we all, you know, feed probably too much, we all upset the water balance, and in their environment that the fish live in, the ammonia levels can go messed up. It's a constant battle of being a fish keeper, of what's right and what's wrong, and we all try to do as best as we possibly can and learn from each other and learn from our own mistakes and what works and what doesn't work. But it makes sense because, you know, the water that we're putting into the pond, you don't know sometimes that even if you're running dechlorinators, if you're taking out chlorine from your pond, if you're using an RO system, you don't really know all of the time if the water is as good as what it can be. And the stress factors which us as fish keepers put onto the fish with the environments that they live in, I mean, especially a lot of the ponds that we build nowadays, like man-made ponds, where there's nothing natural about it, that the fish, in fact, are so sterile, if anything does go wrong, they just get, like, it's like us living in a hospital 24/7, where everything's so clean and sterile that your chances of getting ill is as low as possible. But if something does happen, a bit like, I don't even know if I should say it really, but a bit like the COVID outbreak, that it just blew up. It just went mental because the immune system was not strong enough to deal with it. And is that the same in a koi pond with a fish that's healthy? Their immune system is strong enough that parasites doesn't even affect the koi. They can live a happy, healthy life alongside living with parasites that fish always carry parasites. It's just what causes that parasite to become an outbreak. And that does make sense to me as well. So it's a bit of a headbanger really, because as koi keepers, we all do as best as we can to get the fish as happy as they can. But us as koi keepers, it's us that makes the problem to start with really. Whether that be buying a new fish, adding it to the pond, overstocking the pond, overfeeding the pond. Generally, water quality is the main reason why we get problems to start with. And there's a lot of koi keepers don't like to accept, is that the main reason why most koi keepers get a problem is because at some stage that water quality has gone so bad, the fish have got to live in it. We don't actually know, because how often do you test your pond? Only test when there's already something wrong. Do you test every single day, every single hour? I mean, how many tests are you supposed to do? Or are you supposed to just watch your fish and let them tell you when there's a problem? I'm just interested about the whole hobby, because what is right in the hobby and what's not right in the hobby, it's just interesting for me. But it does all make sense as well, because the koi that live in the ponds, I mean, we do our absolute best to make sure they live a happy, healthy life. But what it comes down to is that the water that they live in, how much monitoring of that water can we do? Like, the trickle-in system is a system that I've banged on about on my channel, that I think it works great. But how do I know that today that water's going in perfectly and there's no heavy metals in the pond, or the pH is coming out at its normal standard pH, or the KH is coming out exactly the same as what it normally is? Well, if I go to bed tonight and that water changes because where I'm getting that water from, that can affect the water that the fish live in, and it can upset something in the pond. So it is a bit of a headbanger really, like what is right, what do we do and when do we act? When are we supposed to add treatments to the pond if they're necessary to add them? It's a bit like when you add a new fish to a pond, that the fish that you add to your pond, you might be living in a soft water area, and the fish that you buy from a shop or from a koi dealer or wherever it's from, that especially nowadays where a lot of fish can be transported from a 24-hour delivery service, that the water that they were living in to the water that you're going to be making them live in can be completely different, and that can upset the whole balance of that fish being healthy and to being completely unhealthy and happy, which can cause yourself a parasite problem before it's even had a parasite, because there could be parasites in your pond already, but you introduce a new fish to the pond, and before you know it, that new fish has got to adjust to water temperature, it's got to adjust from the stress factor of being in a bag for 24 hours, it's got to adjust for a different type of water, difference of pH, difference of KH, difference of ammonia levels, the whole factor of everything that fish have got to adjust in a short period of time, which could create that one fish to cause itself to get sick, which causes a massive outbreak. And the first thing that we do as koi keepers is ring up the koi dealer and say, I've just bought a fish, now I've got problems. I didn't have problems before, but I got the fish from you and now I've got problems. Koi dealers and the people out there that supply fish, they've got a massive task on their hands, because we all blame somebody else. We all blame somebody else, and in fact what we should do is look at ourselves as koi keepers. I'm just interested in this whole hobby, and I don't know if a lot of people are on the same page as me, and I know it's a complete different style of content to what I normally like doing. I personally like the fun, the interesting, the fast, the building. I like doing all of those type of videos, and I really do. But as I've grown in the hobby, and as I'm more interested in the hobby, facts and the figures of all of this stuff that can be shared to everyone, it sort of opens up a page in the book and goes, hang on a minute, this opens up a whole new kettle of fish. And talking of fish, what you can say as a koi keeper is koi pond. But why do we do it? Because of that reason right there. When you can sit in your garden and enjoy your fish, and you can only do what you can do to make it as best as what you can do, and just enjoy it what you can enjoy. But I'm interested. I'm really interested, and that's another reason why I like this hobby. And it's a bit like the fishing hobby that I like, because I can be set fishing in one peg or in one spot, not catch a fish anywhere, but my mind's always thinking, what if I go over there and try over there, I might be able to catch. And sometimes when you move and you go from one peg to another peg, you catch a fish. And what I'm trying to get in this video, sometimes when you think and adjust your brain to your mindset of the ifs, the whats, the whens, it might also make you think, sometimes, was it what I've done? Have I changed something? Have I done something? Have I upset the fish? Have I put the net in and scooped them out and in fact peed them right off? Which, it's a bit like us. If you're sat at home watching a movie, chilled out in your jammies, and it gets to the winter time, you open up your door and you sit outside and it's freezing cold, the first thing that you do is go and put a jacket on. But in a koi pond, if that water goes to shit and there's something that you haven't done by adding whatever you want to do to make that water as best as what you can, those fish have still got to live in it. And it's like I say to a lot of people, water quality is got to be #1 priority. And if the water quality goes, then your fish are unhappy. And it's the same as us as well. If you imagine yourself with your filtration side of things, where you don't clean your filters out, you never clean anything, you never give them any fresh clean water, as long as the water is clean, because sometimes that can be a problem. But if you went to the bathroom and you kept on going into that bathroom without flushing it, how long will you keep going in that bathroom before you don't go in it? Well, it's the same as the koi pond. How long can they live in crap water before they get upset and get sick? So the parasite problem is generally triggered by us as koi keepers, that we have done something wrong to upset the balance. But when you've got a problem, what do you do to actually get rid of it? I don't know, but it's surprising. I always thought slugs and bird poo was something that created a problem, and that necessarily might not be true. So yeah, that's a lot of yibbity yabbada, it's a lot of jibbida jabbada, but I just wanted to put it out there in this video. Let me know down in the comment section what you think.